Osmonauts, secret agents, cosmonauts, we will be starting shortly. This is updates from the lab.
I'm going to send a tweet push thing.
Please.
How's everyone doing?
Good. Good morning, Eddie.
Good morning.
Good morning, GM.
Hey, Sonny. What's up, GM? GM friends.
Good afternoon to you, sir. Or morning at the same time, I suppose.
Yeah, everyone's in different realms. Oh man. Sonny, are you still in Portugal or?
Yep, I'm still in Lisbon. Still at the
Nice.
same hotel from the Osmoverse event.
Sweet. I hear it's a better hotel than the one that the Solana folks stayed in. I don't know. This is it's been a big week.
Yeah, it has. It's been probably one of the crazier weeks I've had in a while because there's like everything going on. Osmoverse was fucking amazing. I just had Cryptocito up because I just wanted to thank him again once more. But it's just like the conference just went so amazingly and smoothly, and it was really cool to see all like the cosmonauts in one place and like everyone talking to each other, and I think just got like put a lot of energy in the room, and just like reinvigorate a lot of things.
Yeah, I feel like it. What I've seen from New York in the YouTube videos and the feeds and your presentation in particular, opening that I think it was day one of the conference, was just outstanding, and it all felt like it injected energy.
Thank you.
Into the conversation.
Thank you.
Yeah, it really. You're welcome.
Cito, do you want to add anything?
Yo! Thanks for the kind words. I was really overwhelmed by the amount of people that came, the quality of people that came. I think we had over 700 people show up over the 2 days. Do Kwon just randomly showed up.
That's awesome.
It was so cool. By the way, Sunny, I left.
It's not random. I invited him.
Oh, okay. By the way, Sunny, I left some merch for you at the reception. Did you manage to get that already?
No, I'll have to go find it.
All right, claim your merch airdrop at the reception.
Okay, will do.
But yeah, it was cool. It was a huge success, and I think
it was really cool because there was like Osmosis branding
really well
everywhere. Because like we, and I think it was really cool that like our community pool like lead sponsored it, co-lead sponsored it, and it was like. Everywhere it didn't say Osmosis, it actually said like Osmosis Community Pool, which I thought was like really cool and like funny and awesome.
Yeah, that is great. And we have Tor today from Secret. That one of the first glimpse I caught of the conference was actually, I think, a conversation he was having about NFTs towards the end of the first video feed or the main video feed, and it made me want to listen to everything that preceded it. It was just like it just seemed like the conversations that you folks sparked and the connections that you got going are much needed. Talking about very apt and current controversies and ideas, and yeah, it's a super well played, Cryptocito, and everybody. Also, community pool, well spent.
Yeah, thanks. And I think also one thing to really point out here, because the week before I was at other events that took place in Lisbon, and the struggle is always when you have conferences that go from 9 a.m. to like 7 p.m. is that after like 3, 4 p.m., people just leave the conference hall and, they just talk, they start drinking.
They get burnt out. Yeah, they get burnt out and they want to just, socialize.
Exactly, yeah. But we had such strong speakers, and I think it also shows the power of all Cosmos projects and their communities, that they really, sit down, listen, ask questions, engage throughout the whole day. And I think that was something that was maybe a big success also for us as organizers, to see that, nobody spoke to an empty audience. Even at 4:30 p.m. or something after the second coffee break, there were a lot of people in the room. Yeah,
that's huge, man. I mean, I when I'm not doing this stuff, and when there's not a global pandemic, I've done a ton of stand-up comedy, and believe me, I've done shows to hundreds, thousand people, and I've also performed to 2 people in a bar who didn't think there was going to be a show, and the latter is not ideal. You want to have a room full of enthusiastic, excited, eager people who are curious, who are listening. And if you can maintain that for an entire, like you said, a full day, 9 hours or what have you, like that's a big accomplishment. So hats off to you. Really well done.
Yeah, thanks, man. Thanks. I mean, it's not just me. There was a whole team, 4 or 5 people that are just enthusiastic and passionate about Cosmos, about Atom, about Osmosis, about all these things. And I think our goal was also to, get all of you guys in one room, and Sunny and Billy and, Pung was there,
Yeah.
the CEO of Tenement. Lock all of you guys in one room, and then you talk. So that was kind of our mission, and I think that was accomplished.
The talent, the minds, the leadership from the different chains and different, aspects of the community. I think, yeah, you have to credit that as well. And also, like you said, all the enthusiasm for the different, I guess, values that people represent is strong. Like it's kind of, to me, it's sort of, I mean, I don't want to go overboard here because I wasn't actually there, but from what I've seen from the videos and from just like, even when I was watching, after I watched Sunny's presentation about superfluid staking, which again, I have to say was just killer. As far as presentations go, they just usually suck. And it seemed like he had trouble getting off the stage because there were so many questions. And that is, to me, is always like, that's an excellent sign that people's, curiosity is tapped. And so I think that part of the community too, that where people who are active, who are engaged, who want to solve these problems, who want to be involved in this interchain reality, you have to credit that aspect of the community too.
Yeah, I agree.
Massive, awesome job.
Thank you.
Let's jump right into Osmosis updates. What did the big brains discover while they were in Lisbon together? What is on the list as?
Well, so I mean, I guess one was this week. There's just so many things activating IBC. So just been like doing a bunch with that. So I think this coming week alone, there's going to be like 4 things that activate IBC. So I think today, which is obviously why they're here, Secret Network activates IBC, and then tomorrow will be banned, and then I think Keychain activated it yesterday, and then Cyber launched on November 5th, and I think they're gonna like take a week, maybe a week to activate IBC. But yeah, so it's like I don't know, it's probably the fastest like rate of new chains joining IBC gang in like such a short period of time. So it's really cool to see that.
Sonny, did you see the meme of like the old guy's face where he's like, in my day, you didn't have to scroll down the list of chains on Osmosis?
No, I haven't seen that yet.
It reminds me of this week, like this turning point where it's like, okay, it's going to start to get to be a long list.
Right. I mean, yeah, that's definitely, something that like the front end, something that we've been discussing with. So we've been having this like concurrently along with like the conference, a lot of the core development teams have been having like a retreat sort of, or a meeting here, right? Because like we have the different core development teams. You have the Synapse's team in Korea, who's like doing a lot of the front end stuff, and then me and Dave are in the US, where we're doing a lot of the back end stuff. So, but yeah, one of the things we were discussing was like, as these chains are increasing, we have to like think about all the how do we deal with all the new assets that are joining, right? And like we have to start adding search bars and like filtering and all these kind of things. And so it's like as we scale, there's a lot more like UX things that have to go into it. So we're getting ready for that as well. Let's see. Okay, what else are some?
Oh, I wanted to just say very briefly, I'm going to pour some pumpkin spice latte on the floor for the Osmosis info site is no longer spooky. It was great. I loved it. It was pretty sweet. And I'm glad that we still have, I don't know what he is, Evil Osmo. I call him Dracula Osmo, but yeah.
I love how
happy
you
to
used
see
him
him.
in the presentation, actually, to show a bad actor. That was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah, that was Kevin's idea. So who's the designer? Yeah, it's awesome because I can just like design these like slides that I just like throw it together and then I just pass them on to him and they come back just looking amazing. Let's see what else other interesting stuff. I had like a lot of great conversations with Ethan Frey from Confio. So he's like the sort of main developer behind Cosmwasm, and so I told him my concerns with like CW20 and like using those. So I guess I can like so essentially in Cosm, I think in fact soon we're probably going to want some sort of Cosmwasm system on Osmosis, but probably like a more permissioned one. We don't want to like turn Osmosis into like a generalized smart contracting chain. If you want to go deploy dog coins, go do them on Juno. But if you want to deploy like something that's very like related to the Osmosis use case, like the core use case of Osmosis, deploying it on Osmosis is probably a good place to do that. And so we'll have something where like governance can to start off, governance can like approve the deployment of new contracts. But the one thing I was mostly concerned about was CW20, which is like the token standard for Cosmwasm. And the problem with CW20 is then you get like two parallel token standards on your Cosmos chain. You have like the native SDK coins, and then you have these like CW20 tokens. And the problem is this just makes the life much more difficult for like integrators in a lot of ways. So we're actually running into this situation with Terra right now because the IBC module as written for Terra at the moment supports the native SDK coins, which are the like Luna and UST, but it doesn't support CW20 coins, which is like everything else that's being built in the Terra ecosystem, like the the governance tokens like Anchor and Mir and whatever, but then also like the assets like B Luna and all these like assets. And so anyway, I'll get back to that in a moment. But yeah, just the fact that our own AMM module really only supports SDK coins right now, not CW20, and it's like I don't want to go through that issue. And so I was I had a good like discussion with Fry about like, okay, if I wanted to have a version of Cosmwasm that like allows them to more easily use SDK coins instead of having to mint CW20. And so then, we sat down and like walked through of like, okay, how would we do this? And we came out with a pretty good solution. And so, I think once we get that going, hopefully we can see Cosmwasm on Osmosis pretty soon. And that will allow. Another one would be like, people are like building all these like, so many people want to build like Osmosis NFTs or like Wasmington NFTs and all these things. And so it's like, well, I mean, issuing them on Osmosis is probably the right place to do that. And then, you can take them over to Stargaze and like auction them, whatever you want.
Nice.
That's exciting.
This is something that very much concerns us as well, and it's something we've talked with the Terra community about for a very long time, is like supporting the 20 coins. and ensuring that, like, because we want to bring the privacy capabilities, and it's easiest for us, obviously, via IBC to bring it directly to native assets, Secret Osmo, Secret Atom, Secret Luna, Secret UST, but everybody would want to be able to wrap and unwrap any of these CW20 based coins. So definitely have given some thought to that part of the conversation as well.
Yeah. So I had a good, I hung out with Joe for like 2 or 3 hours yesterday, and he's very supportive of. He's like, yeah, I think I'm down to, like, basically there needs to be like a software upgrade to get Terra to support the like, currently their CosmWasm module doesn't have access to the IBC module, and so that's why it doesn't work. But he's pretty supportive of, like, hey, yeah, let's go ahead and, like, let's propose an upgrade. So I think what would be best would be, like, let's wait and, like, let's, like, test it out on something like Juno. So let's wait for Juno to, like, activate their CosmWasm and see the CosmWasm IBC, like, integration. And then if that works smoothly, then we can go propose that on Terra to, like, just do a software upgrade. And now that they're using, like, Cosmovisor and everything, their software upgrades will be pretty smooth as well.
Wait, may I ask, this may have nothing to do with this, but is the issue that was happening with sending UST, like, back to, say, Terra, the whatever Terra mainnet or Terra wallet, is that related to this CW20 issue, or is that something completely different?
No, I think that's slightly different. I think that has more to do with, like, the way Terra charges fees on their network.
Ah, gotcha.
And
okay.
They just use a different library for, so, Terra started, like, Terra's been around for a while, and so they started building up this ecosystem before. So currently, like, most Cosmos chains use Cosm.js, but it's not so. But they use a separate one called Terra.js, which is, like, has some slight differences and things. So it's just
okay. No need to go crazy off road on that one. Just curious.
Cool. Yep.
Right on. Tor, is that your given name, or is that your alias?
Yeah, it was given to me.
Nice.
Wow. You were not. So were you named after the browser, or was it named after you?
Yes.
Nice. All right. That's probably the question that you get asked every time, but.
So, Secret Network, is it Supernova? Is that the IBC connection?
Yeah, kabam. That's today. Actually, as we speak, I'm the one who's doing this because I'm much better at Twitter Spaces than coding. So meanwhile, all the validators are out there with the Secret Labs team doing all the actual upgrade work, and I'm here to just build some excitement and anticipation. I mean, osmosis integration is something that we've looked forward to for a very, very long time, and this is a critical next step to getting there.
Well, welcome to Spaces, to this Spaces tour, where I know that we're all excited to have you here. I know that we've all been looking at the Secret, name in Kepler and being like, how do we get a hold of Secret? When is this coming? What's the secret? And some people are quite familiar with the background, but as much as you could to help get people up to speed, I would be grateful.
Sure. We I just spoke at Osmoverse twice, but not really about Secret. One was about NFTs on that panel again. The other keynote that I gave was just about privacy as a principle more generally, and how we can ensure it gets baked into the foundation of Web3 and the interchain. So we're hyped to be a part of the Cosmos ecosystem because of the focus on interoperability, and just because we firmly believe that this is going to be the architecture of the new internet versus, what's being tried in, like, more maximalist worlds. So the way we position ourselves, both within the Cosmos ecosystem and beyond, is we want to be the data privacy hub of Web3, of the metaverse, of the Osmoverse interchain, however you want to sort of refer to it. We know what we stand for. We know what we want to bring to this internet of blockchains. And we've been around for quite a while. We actually have quite a long history in the space. I've been working on what's become Secret Network since early 2017. And I've known the people who are involved at Secret Labs building out the ecosystem since even before that, since 2015. So Project started at MIT based on some white papers about integrating privacy with blockchain technology to create privacy-preserving decentralized computing platforms. That evolved into Enigma, which was building out a layer 2 private compute for Ethereum. And that eventually evolved into Secret Network, which is a layer 1 with privacy-preserving COSM-WASM-based smart contracts. We were the first network, and I think still pretty much the only network to have generalizable privacy-preserving smart contracts on mainnet. But what we're excited about, of course, is not to live in a vacuum, but to connect to a bunch of other chains, bring this privacy tech to them so that they can utilize it for their own applications, for their own assets, and just generally speaking, make sure that the foundations of Web3 do protect user privacy by design, because we see it as critically linked to user empowerment, global freedom, et cetera, et cetera.
Nice. And may I, just slight interruption, do you still play guitar?
Yes. What an interesting angle to take on it. Yes, I play a lot of instruments.
Awesome.
So I'm a musician, have been my whole life. I'm particularly passionate about NFT-based use cases these days because of what they enable for creators, and specifically privacy-enabled NFT use cases that allow for creator monetization. I spoke a little bit about this at a Osmoverse, but it's so much better for creator monetization. It's so much better for community development to have like native access control, native privacy. You're not relying on a centralized platform to enforce unlockable content or access. It all happens on chain and across chains. That's I think the future.
Yeah, no, that's super exciting. Not to throw you totally off the rails. I just I caught a picture
I can handle
of you
it.
on your. You're good. I think you got your hands on the steering wheel. So, but yeah, that's awesome, man. It's cool that you bring that different sides to yourself to the space, and I love how you guys and how you've been like rallying around this principle for so long, and because it does seem like one of the things that when people kind of get exhausted, we all have like our limits of how much we can delve into something. They sort of are just like, well, it'll get sorted out, and then it gets exploited, because you don't have privacy.
I just assume, like, if people are listening to this and haven't looked into Secret, I just assume I've always got like 10 seconds of your time. So I just sum it up. I'm like, we do privacy, we do it for smart contracts, we do it for all of Web3. Where, like if you smashed, like the easy way to put it for somebody who's newer to the space might be like you take Ethereum and Monero and you just like smash them together and then they have a baby. But like that's a gross oversimplification, and I think pretty misleading ultimately for what we're trying to accomplish. But I think here in the Osmoverse, people are able to grasp pretty quickly what we're trying to achieve for Secret and beyond. And again, like what I'm excited about is what can we do for Atom? What can we do for Osmo? What can we do for Luna holders to give them even more utility and even more protection and privacy at a fundamental blockchain level?
Yeah, I'm just reading this blog where privacy protects MEV and front running. That's kind of like, I guess, what Sonny's doing too, right? The threshold encryption, he's hiding the value of the transaction so people can't front run it.
Yeah, there's a couple different approaches that are being used, and like I've heard Sonny talk about this, and we're definitely both very keenly aware of what the issue is, and we're taking different approaches to solving it. Like, we didn't build Secret to solve front running, but what you get with Secret is with privacy preserving smart contracts with encrypted state, as the validators are actually executing the contracts, they can't see the interaction itself that's coming into the chain. So they can't see what the order is that came in and is interacting with the contract. Now, after the fact, the way that Secret Swap works, like that's one of our on-chain dexes, like you need public pools, because if you don't know the amounts that are in the pools, you don't know the price you're going to get when you trade. So there's this, we call it programmable privacy, because you're not trying to make absolutely everything private all the time from everybody. You're trying to make the right things private at the right times, but public at the right times to the right parties, so that applications just are more usable, more secure. People get confused, I think, and think like this is like a complete black box, but I don't think that's what users actually want. What they want is the security of knowing they have some front running resistance, know that as they're moving money into and out of these pools, there's privacy protections because these are all privacy preserving tokens, SNP20 tokens that live on top of secret network. You know, that's what users ultimately care about. They don't, however, want to live in like a fully, totally private universe where that ends up just hurting the user experience because everything is so opaque. We believe that privacy and transparency are just two sides of the same coin.
Yeah, it's an interesting. It's kind of like there's this spectrum of privacy and to transparency that I feel like we're all sort of navigating in different ways in the blockchain space. Like for me, for some of us from Osmosis, like we just because it was last week, we just launched this community support DAO, and we started paying admins and moderators, some people who have been working for months, but built like elaborate Discord setups. And that was a great feeling to be like, okay, we're finally, using the community pool to give back to the community who has been helping people. But at the same token, all of a sudden, we're doxing their wallets. We want to show that we're spending the community's money in a wise way, but at the same, trying to figure out ways to do it where we're not like. And I don't think anyone's fully solved this issue of like, how can you run DAOs? How can you run community funded operations where there's enough privacy to the people who are getting paid, but also enough transparency that the community says, okay, this is a good use of the funds.
Accountability meets transparency.
Yeah,
Well
you're talking, right around like that exact issue of like, how do you preserve the accountability without necessarily putting people at risk? Like when I talk about privacy, and I talked about it the same way at Osmoverse, right? You're not really talking about privacy like hiding things from everybody. What you're talking about, I broke down 3 pillars. I said consent, freedom, and sustainability. Consent, the idea that, with privacy, it's in the user's control to consent to how their data is used or which data is exposed. Freedom, because that privacy is inherent, a must-have, not a nice-to-have, when it comes to building these Web3 systems, because otherwise they're just inherently unsustainable. Systems that are public by default, like they just are fundamentally not sustainable for the people that live within them. There's always going to be a push to centralize and extract the value of that data. So privacy.
Wait.
Yes.
Tor, did other people, did Tor drop out for you guys when he was talking about the third pillar?
Yes, because I got an incoming phone call.
Yeah. Okay.
Twitter's not smart enough to know that when I get called during a Twitter space, I want to automatically hang up on everybody else and just concentrate.
Still,
I was saying
the
third
pillar one more time.
Third pillar is sustainability. I was saying sustainability because fundamentally these systems that don't have privacy, that are public by default, there's always a tension between the data in those systems being, cheap to produce, passively produced, but extremely valuable. So there's always this pull to extract the value of that data, monetize the value of that data at the expense of the user, because with public by default systems, they've lost control of the data and how it's shared. And this is how every Web2 company effectively made their $1 trillion valuations.
Right. Out of our complacency that they're, it's sustainable for them. For us, it's
exactly
away our rights.
Well, I made the point on I don't want to rehash the whole Cosmoverse talk. You should probably watch it on YouTube. I don't know.
Yeah, but you could give us
probably knows. Yeah.
Give us the trailer.
The trailer. The sustainability piece is the part I care about, because what I said on stage was that doesn't mean the systems of Web 2 are unsustainable. Fundamentally, what it means is they cost an enormous amount of resources to maintain, like Facebook lobbying everybody, hiring 10,000 people to build their own non-Web 3 metaverse. They'll invest all that money because the value to be gained is so much more substantial for them, because the value of the data that's going to be created by the metaverse, they can monetize that data, especially because they don't care about paying it back to the users. They're willing to expend all that energy and money.
Big point.
Well, they're willing to do it not because they think it's going to necessarily be sustainable for them. They don't have to care whether this is sustainable for the users or good for the users. They just have to know that the business case allows them to extract more value from that system by closing the walls of that garden, they can always justify it as a business move. They're making more money than they're going to be spending. It doesn't mean that these systems are like simple to maintain or that they're long-term sustainable. It just means that they're short-term profitable. So in the Web3 world, all I was trying to remind people at Osmoverse is we need to build systems that are sustainable. To do that, we need to build systems that empower the user, place the user in the middle, give them that control over how data is used and how data will be monetized. And if we go too far down the Web3 path, where things are all public by default, and we build that out today for the next 5 years and make privacy an afterthought, then the Web3 metaverse is actually just going to centralize the same way the Web2 metaverse did, and users will not be the winners. It'll be like the Chainalysises of the world that are the ultimate winners of Web3.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because we'll have violated the consent pillar.
I get Mia. You wanted to ask a question?
Yeah, sorry. First of all, I just want to say thank you, Secret. You're giving me a great macro perspective on sort of the importance of private technologies on public blockchains. I wanted to ask, I'm sorry if this already had been asked, what are some of the similarities and differences between the Secret network and Tornado Cash, which is a project on Ethereum for enabling private transactions?
Yep, great question. So what we're doing is very much focused on computational privacy. What Tornado Cash and those other ETH-based applications generally are looking at is primarily transactional privacy, which just means like a mixer use case. You toss all your funds in a bucket and then funds come out and nobody really can say where it came from or where it's going. And that's one component to financial privacy, but it's not the most powerful component. And in fact, transactional privacy, being realistic about things, is always going to be looked at negatively by regulators because they feel like it's always money laundering, it's always terrorism, or at least that's how they're going to sell it to the public. Whereas when we talk to regulators about what we're trying to do with a composable privacy, computational privacy, programmable privacy platform, all these words we use to distinguish ourselves from that, trivial mixer use case, what we're saying is, look, you guys find billions of dollars to places like Facebook, Uber, Equifax, et cetera, when they don't protect user privacy. When user data gets leaked, that's needing to be protected by default. You guys go and you create GDPR legislation. California looks into like data protection legislation. Regulators like data privacy for users and they're willing to enforce it. What they don't like is when they think that all of these systems are only being used to move money privately around systems. Now, we think that financial privacy is a huge component of like overall like internet-based privacy protections, and we believe that it's a human right. But if we try to sell that back to regulators, legislators, et cetera, as like that's all we do, then we'll never be allowed to do it. So instead, we took a generalizable approach and said, at the application layer on Secret, you'll be able to build those kinds of transactional privacy use cases. Tokens you issue on the network will be private by default, and all these things. But by default doesn't mean that everything must be private. It just means the choice is in the hands of the users and developers, what is exposed to whom under what conditions. And I think that that's a healthy architecture for, again, sustainability, so that these things don't end up like regulated out of existence. Because if we make the assumption that anything privacy focused in Web3 is going to get regulated out of existence, we've given up from the first moment. We're just saying, okay, well, this is going to be a surveillance dystopia Web3 instead of something that's truly empowering.
Yeah, I'm not signing up for surveillance dystopia personally.
Well,
No one
thank you
ever
for the
knows they're
answer.
signing
Really
up.
good answer, by the way. I really appreciate your response.
No, great
Tor,
question.
Yeah.
Question: How do the fees work in Secret Network? Are those private as well? Because I know like one of the main challenges with like building a lot of privacy solutions on top of Ethereum has been that like Ethereum doesn't really provide a good way of shielding who the fee payer of something is.
Great question again. So the way that fees work on the chain is that addresses are actually public and interact. This is how it works currently, right? Secret, the native coin of the blockchain, is actually public. So when you're interacting as an address with an application, the payment for gas is revealed on chain. And if somebody is staking coins or unbonding coins, that is also public on chain associated with that address. I mean, this is still pseudonymous. And there's fewer things that would happen in the secret universe that would like dox an individual wallet. For example, on Ethereum, let's say you own a one of one NFT, like a very scarce cultural item. That's always going to sit in your wallet. And anytime you move it, people are going to associate it back with that original wallet. So if you ever want to claim ownership publicly of any sort of identifiable item, you're doxxed forever. Whereas on secret, that pseudonymity is a lot better enforceable because any tokens you're holding on your wallet, those balances are encrypted. They're only public to you unless you choose to share it. And if you make a token transfer, people can see that the address interacted with the token contract, but only the owner of that address can decrypt the nature of that interaction to be able to say, this is where the tokens went and to what amount. So it's an interesting architecture. I think a lot of the choices were deliberate. It creates one design space. It kind of closes off another. But there's ways that this can be changed over time. There's ways that this can be, within the interchain, right? There's all sorts of ways in which this kind of structure in particular can be really, really interesting, where you do want to know exactly who's interacting with a private application, but you don't want to know the nature of that interaction.
I see. Okay, cool.
Uh,
And I can also turn my secret tokens into like wrapped secret tokens.
Exactly.
They still get the full privacy stuff.
That's exactly the value that we're trying to provide to every IBC coin right off the bat, which is that you'll be able to turn them into wrapped secret versions of themselves immediately. So if you're an Osmo holder, you can come turn it into secret Osmo. We have like a whole landing page set up for wrapping IBC coins. It's the same place you would go to wrap your secret. It's at wrap.scrt.network. And Kepler actually has this native integration. It's probably the easiest place to do it. You can easily wrap and unwrap your secret into secret. So it becomes a SNP20 version of itself. And it's kind of like shielding and unshielding it. Currently, you can't use secret to pay for gas, but that is something that a lot of people have been demanding, because if you could use secret for gas in the network, a lot of these very interesting use cases become a lot easier to perform. But right now, gas requires the public mainnet coin.
What about like when it comes to things like gas usage size and things like that, and like IO? Because like, let's say, what's nice is that all the computation happens in the SGX, but then can't I tell by like, how much gas is being used, or like obviously your database is not being stored in the SGX. Can't you tell like by like, which part of the database it's like reading and writing from? You can kind of like tell what is this transaction doing.
So when you're looking at like the wrapped token use cases and things like that, like there's ways that you can layer additional privacy on top of what you're getting natively. There's obviously some issues with like metadata leakage and things like that. That's going to make things like less private. I think that we're trying to explore as many of those ideas as possible, but we want to layer it on top of something that's already private by default, and rather than layer it on top of something that's public by default, because then I actually think we can achieve it.
Right. I mean, probably good to iterate. Start with what you start with right now, and then like iterate and like figure out solutions on top.
Yeah, and I mean, people also have issues. Fundamentally, like we take a very I don't want to say unique. There's plenty of projects that use a hardware-based approach to privacy now. Everything from like Chainlink to Avalanche, et cetera, has some component of like trusted hardware in their setups and in their stack. So we're using that now today, because what we care about is generalizability. We care about usable privacy-centric applications today in Web3. And what we want is over time to improve the decentralization model to support more kinds of trusted hardware, or like especially like open source enclaves, or to integrate more cryptography-based privacy solutions, or layer them, as you're saying, like on top of these solutions in order to make them have even more security properties for users. That's where we're trying. That's definitely where we're trying to get to. My point from earlier only stands that if we wait 5 to 10 years for all of the research to be perfect, and that's no guarantee, of course, then all we've done is go far too far down the public by default path. And our feeling has always been it'll be too late. And the only reason we've been able to do as much as we have is because we started 5 years ago.
Right. Yeah, that's sort of like similar to the approach that we took with the threshold encryption for Osmosis, where the V1 with like the threshold encryption of transactions and like the payloads, that does a lot of it, but we still have a little bit of metadata leakage because we know who's paying the fees and what the gas amount is, and that's why then we have plans on how to layer more things on top of that in the future. Like, so we're going to add like a shielded pool, which will kind of help mask who's paying the fees, and then especially when getting to like interchain stuff where it's like cross chain actions, how do you do front running resistance across there? And there's a lot of like but start with something, ship it, and then iterate.
Yeah, actually, Asaf, one of the core devs at Secret Labs, like Secret Swap, as we said, is not like fully private. You also need the balances public, so you know what price you're going to pay. But he released recently a repo called Secret Swap Anon Edition, which is pretty great. And rather than tell you how it works, because I haven't seen it in action, and he built it all himself because he's a mad genius, it's got a private entropy pool for differential privacy. And so therefore, like, swap amounts are private within a range, and the recipient is private, and like that's a higher degree of privacy. And what you sacrifice is some of the certainty, some of the usability, and you gain privacy. If again, like, users just have this choice, that's awesome. I mean, I think like the market will kind of show us what users ultimately value between these privacy guarantees and what they want, which generally seems to be lots and lots of yield. But longer term, I mean, these are all very, very useful experiments in finding out like what's going to work and still be secure.
That's cool. I need to check that out. It's a bit over my head. I don't really understand it, but I know like Dev and Tarun have been talking a bunch recently about the differential privacy stuff.
I'm gonna go dump this repo in the Osmo Telegram right now because I feel like some people here might be there. So if you're curious, here is Secret Swap Anon Edition. There you go. I'm using the Telegram as my second screen right now, but I feel like we're all in crypto. We're all pretty capable of doing that.
Yeah, Telegram is the universal second screen of crypto.
I want to get to these other questions. Call me Cat. Call Mecca.
Hi there. I have got a question.
Welcome.
So the secret token is an inflationary token. I think it's 15 or 10% annually. Do you plan to change that?
Yeah, inflation on Secret works like other Cosmos DPoS chains, where it's based on the bonded rate, and right now the bonded rate is slightly below 50%. So there's very strong incentives right now to become a Secret staker. You get your SCRT, you stake it up. Because the inflation rate is at the high end of the range, and because the bonded rate is below 50%, ROI, like both real and nominal, is really, really, really good. But as the bonded rate increases over time, the inflation rate will go down. And there's already been talk about just like lowering the overall rate period, especially as the market cap has risen substantially. And it seems to be that validators have a good sense of self-sustainability. Taking inflation down on the high end to a lower level seems to make sense. But again, that's a call that gets made via on-chain governance, not like unilaterally made by anybody. I will say that for right now, like exactly this minute, it's really good staking rewards. I would encourage you to do it. But I also think that using your SCRT to provide liquidity on Osmosis is a really, really good idea. So it's kind of up to you where you want your yield to come from.
Okay, thank you.
Gone?
Hey, can I have a dumb question in between, maybe after the next one.
Can I just say real quick, because I gotta hop off. Big thanks to Tor for coming and for doing all this, for also sponsoring, and also Sunny and the whole Osmosis community and the team and everyone for the Osmoverse conference. And if you want to hear also Tor's presentation, it's all on my YouTube channel, on the OmniFlix YouTube channel. I think there's also timestamps everywhere. So love you all, guys.
Can you send me that link?
Yeah.
After we'll share it like tomorrow. We just got to wrap up Supernova today, and then I'm going to be pushing that around because I feel like that's something people deserve to see. That whole conference was just a joy.
Yeah, it was. And I will share the link with you. And thanks for everything, guys.
Yeah, and thank you for sharing it and for creating all those timestamps and making it, something that we can all also follow along with.
Yeah, I think the best would also be, and that's something we're gonna do because we just received all the files from the recordings, is to send it to all the projects, and then you guys can also share it on your own channels. Just to talk from your presentation. All right.
Awesome.
Thank you so much, guys.
Cryptocito.
Yeah, love you all.
Yeah.
Take care.
Yeah, thanks, Cryptocito. Cheers.
JT, you have a question?
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, so I was reading recently about how Osmosis is trying to encrypt their mempool to mitigate miner extractable value. I was wondering if you guys could talk about some of the trade-offs between SGX enclaves and secret swap and what Osmosis plans to do with the mempool encryption.
Yeah, sure. So, when we were sort of researching how to do mempool encryption, we basically came to the conclusion that there is 3 easily developable methods right now, which are trusted hardware like the SGX, something called time lock encryption, and threshold encryption. And so we actually, there's a couple of talks online actually that we've done. I'll post them in the Telegram chat after this, but where we kind of like walk through all 3 of them and how they work and the trade-offs of each of them. And what we came to the conclusion that was that we just thought that threshold encryption was the best design for what we were looking for. So I think, and I would say honestly, I think the SGX came in a close second. Time lock encryption has a lot of like UX challenges in my opinion, but the SGX, I think the main thing for us that we were a little bit concerned about was we didn't know how to quantify the like cost of attack, basically, where the concern is that like if you're able to break a single SGX, any SGX that's you're going to be able to like decrypt and break the privacy of the solution of the system and like extract that MEV. And at the moment, we're not sure what the cost of breaking a single SGX is. We see every year there's like multiple, it's nice actually that I think the frequency of them is decreasing, but like, very regularly we're seeing like, new exploits are being found in the SGX, and it's like, it's
wait,
just like,
yeah. Sony, what is an SGX?
An SGX is a piece of trusted hardware. What it means is in your CPU, Intel has basically put a special portion of the computer where they say, hey, this has like some sort of like encrypted RAM or something. And sorry, I'm not a low-level computer scientist, but like
that's all right.
But essentially what they're saying is like, hey, in this thing we've put a private key that only we knew, and we put it in this thing, and this, you can run code in this special enclave and it will run exactly as expected, and we will sign it with the key that's in the SGX, and it'll sign it. And that way, if I tell you to go, if I send you a piece of code and ask you to run it, I have no way of knowing whether you ran it correctly and give me the correct answer. The point of the SGX is saying that I can say, hey, please run this in the SGX. You would give me back the answer, but the answer would be signed by the special key that's in the SGX, and I can then ask Intel. There's a list of all the public keys for all the SGXs in the world, and I can ask them like, hey, is this correct? And SGX will say yes. I can tell that this code is run.
It's like notarized or whatever. It's like got the sign of approval that like, yeah, I ran this shit as I said I would.
Exactly. And like, magic computer wizardry that guarantees that it was run as promised. And the problem is that wizardry is still, it's a developing field essentially, and it's like not the most mature just yet. And what we've found is like, in the past few years, almost like once a year, we find like a new sort of exploit in these systems. And the concern is, that we had was when we're trying to quantify the cost of breaking an SGX. Well, what if I go hire the 10 best computer science researchers in the world, and let's say I pay them each, $2 million for 6 months to break the SGX, to try to find a bug in the SGX. I have a relatively high, that there's a good chance that they'll probably be able to do it, and it will break the privacy of the SGX.
Right, and then they can exploit a lot of funds
MEV.
out of that.
Right, exactly. And it's like the MEV right now is, at least on Ethereum, is worth way more than, whatever it was. What did I say? $10 million a year or something, right? And
right.
Exactly. And so it's like, okay, that's why it's because that we weren't sure that the cost of attack is like sufficient for what it is we're trying to secure right now, which is MEV.
Right. Yeah, that answers my question. I've heard things like through the grapevine that it costs like 10, 20 million, but I have no idea. I'm not an expert.
Yeah, all of these numbers are kind of like out the butt because
these
it's
numbers,
not been done in production.
These numbers are completely made up. This is just like, just thinking about it. Yeah,
completely.
We don't know the cost of attack.
If you're a whale and you're funding an operation like this, and you want to hop on and ask some questions and give us some real data, let us know.
Right.
Chirp chirp.
Yeah, I mean, I could talk for years about like all these trade-offs, but I think we've got 6 minutes until I got to jump on something else, and it is Supernova Day. So if there's other questions like secret specific or secret on Osmo specific for 6 minutes, like let's do it.
Okay, I have a smooth brain one too, but go ahead, Sonny.
I have a pretty simple question as well, which is we mentioned earlier that Terra, the CW20 assets won't be able to come over. On Secret, will the CW20 or SNP20 assets on Secret be able to come over onto Osmosis?
Sounds like we would have to talk about that. Similar, like you're looking at Terra, it seems like there should be a really good triple threat solution to this, because obviously we want to be able to support this for any CW20. And when we were initially looking at this stuff, like we published a blog post months ago about a specific standalone bridge to Terra that we wanted to do that would provide privacy for like mirror assets and BLuna and things like that. And then when they pushed off IBC and we caught up on IBC, it looked like it would make a way more sense to do it post IBC and try to come up with some more generalizable solution. So if there's a lot of demand for this across all the different chains in the ecosystem, feels like that we should be in close coordination to ensure that we do get this set up not only for like Terra-based CW20s, but basically any CW20 existing within like the Osmoverse, because if we can provide like that wrap unwrap functionality, that would be huge.
Cool. I agree. And that leads into my smooth brain question, which is, can you break down again, or for once, why would someone want to wrap a token with Secret?
So a huge use case, I'll use actually UST for a second, because that's a big one that we're getting at. As Sonny was mentioning, like UST is like a native asset, not a CW20. So with this, what you can do is bring your UST to Secret and use our wrapping tool to now be its Secret UST. As you send any Secret token around Secret network, that's encrypted. I mentioned that SCRT, the native coin of the network, is a public coin, and that was a design decision. But all of the privacy application happens at the application layer, which includes the tokens. So let's say you've got your UST, you've collected it from somewhere, you send it to Secret, you wrap it as Secret UST. Now you have Secret UST, you can use it in our universe of DeFi applications, Secret Swap, Sienna, whatever, or you just straight send it to another wallet address. Now that interaction to send that transaction was encrypted. So only you know where you sent it, only the recipient knows who sent it. And then you can unwrap the UST, send it back over to the Terra universe, send it to Osmosis, whatever you want to do. But while you're on secret and while it's in its wrapped form, you get these privacy guarantees. And while you're in the secret DeFi universe using secret tokens, you get those additional privacy guarantees. And all of this still retains composability.
Well, then we really want to have the wrapping, because like we want stuff to stay, we want to give consent of if something's going to be revealed, if it goes from chain to chain as well, I would think.
Well, part of our thesis, and again, this comes down to user demand, right? But part of our thesis is that secret, by providing privacy by default, can become the settlement layer for a lot of different tokens and interactions. It's where you're going to want to hold your assets until you're ready to use them elsewhere. And if this isn't the case for fungible coins, I do feel very strongly that it will be the case for non-fungible assets, where you're going to want private protected ownership, the ability to create these like private galleries for art use cases or private vaults for like financial use cases. Leave those assets protected on secret with the private metadata stored, like that access control is on chain with secret. But then you can send it to some other universe, whether it's across like an Ether Solana bridge or whether it's via IBC. Now you have, I talked a little bit with Michael from Pylons about this on stage at Osmoverse. Like now, what if you could have these items? Now you use them in a game universe on like a gas-free chain or like a feeless chain. And then when you're done interacting with that game, it comes back to secret. The private metadata is still there. All you did was you used the part of it that you needed to use in some other sort of network. That's the vision of privacy, where it's like things will settle back to secret. It's where things are most secure to store them. But obviously, these are going to be productive assets, not only in our universe, but in a lot of different universes, which is why interoperability is so important.
Can I get Steppy UST? Do we have time for one more?
Hey guys,
welcome, Steppy.
Hey, I'll make it quick. Basically, I think Tor just more or less covered it, but I think a use case for the average user would be, there's a lot of debit cards, for example, coming out where you can basically, swipe your, UST via some, bank that's going to, convert your money over to via Visa debit or something like that. And the ideal situation is if you have a yield bearing asset like AUST and you have that on secret, for example, that is basically ejecting money that then you can spend using your yields, and you never have to sort of reveal the totality of how much you have in your AUST position. Something like that. Does that make sense?
That's cool. Yeah. Your principal isn't viewable by everybody. It's like you're not wearing transparent pants.
Right. But at the same time, you don't most people, I think, would not. Most people, most consumers would not need extraordinarily exotic functionality. That one thing alone, or where yields can be diverted.
Most people don't want to. Yeah, most people don't want to wear transparent pants.
Yeah, well, yeah, that too. Yeah, but
only on Saturdays.
The use case,
right.
It's one thing for a bunch of degens and whatnot, but if you took the average consumer, like let's say 99% of people in their general use case, they just simply don't want to be naked. Yeah, when they're roaming the world.
Most degens are not wearing pants. Listen to this right now.
Right, sure. Right.
Exactly. Well, I put my pants on for this, and I appreciate everybody who made similar effort today.
and I'm not going to reveal.
Yeah, if you want me to reveal that, I just gotta say you gotta meet me in person. Lisbon was pretty crazy, but it wasn't that crazy.
Well, thanks for being frank with us, Tor. This was really intriguing. I have so many more questions.
Yeah, definitely.
All I wanted to say before I have to drop off and do another recording is I'm so hyped to get Secret onto Osmo. So here's the timeline. Supernova's today. We're actually doing the safe thing. We didn't think we would do the safe thing, but we're doing the safe thing. IBC is going to need to be activated via an on-chain proposal. So that puts us back the week that it takes to get the proposal approved. But right after that point is when we're kind of ready to start with all these different cross-chain integrations. And we're prioritizing cross-chain liquidity, especially because better availability for Secret means just better availability for all the applications in our universe. And we got a ton of shit coming, DeFi, NFT-wise, et cetera. So if you guys are interested in being like Secret Osmo LPs and such, do stay tuned. That's going to be like a very awesome upcoming opportunity. I think we have to go and there's already been proposal discussion on our own forum about using our ecosystem pool for boosted rewards, and also Secret Labs has said they will match those
Let's do
on-chain
it.
rewards.
That's great.
You'll probably see some of us in Osmo governance fairly soon. But again, privacy is a public good. Let's bring it to the whole interchain universe. It's just an exciting time to be a huge Cosmo nerd. It's fucking awesome.
Yeah, awesome, man. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you. Great points. Great questions too. Thanks, Effie, JT, everybody. Really hit it out of the ballpark.
Yeah, really, really intelligent questions, guys. Thank you. And yeah, we got into the weeds with SGX and some other stuff, but I think Osmosis is definitely leading the way in a lot of this. Like we said, this is like bleeding edge experimentation about how these privacy solutions and like encrypted state can work. So we're going to continue to try to build alongside them. We love learning from our peers within the Cosmoverse, and there's so much good stuff happening right now. Also, the UX is sick. That's the best thing. That's the thing I can always tell people about Osmosis. It's like just use it to see how the UX can feel on things like this, because it's so dope.
Just put your hands on it.
It's beautiful. Yeah, put your hands on it.
All right, guys. Thanks again.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks, Tor.
Thanks everyone for joining us. Sonny, Tor, Kevin. I'll see you guys next week.
Yeah. Eddie, we'll be back.